Are you one of the Christians who argue that marriage is not spiritual because some people have over-spiritualized marriage to the point that they have squeezed out the emotional dimension? Or you are one of those Christians who think that all these aspects are required for a thriving marriage? That the dimensions come as a package and fully need each other to run. If only one dimension is operational, your marriage might be handicapped. So we need to incorporate all the dimensions and make sure that we are emotionally, spiritually, and physically healthy. So welcome to Consistent Place channel, and we are going to be talking about the 3 dimensions of marriage. I've heard some Christians argue that marriage is not spiritual because there is no marriage in heaven. And the Bible says that to be carnally minded is death, and to be spiritually minded is life and peace, because the carnal mind does not obey the law of God. We have to be spiritually minded even in our marriages. Marriage has 3 domains: the spiritual domain, the physical domain, and the emotional domain. And some Christians still argue that marriage is physical because it happens here on earth, which is true. If you are operating only on the physical dimension, you are missing out on the deep aspects of marriage, on the deeper connection, the deeper level of marriage, because marriage is a divine institution operated by divine principle. And if you miss out on that, you are missing out on a bigger part of your marriage. And some people focus on that. All you need to do is to love the person, which is emotional dimension of marriage. Emotional dimension is crucial, but if you only have the emotional dimension, that will operate as infatuation, and infatuation has an expiration date. It can evaporate. The thing that will keep that emotional part going is the spiritual depth that you bring into your marriage. Because if you do not have any spiritual depth in your marriage, the emotional part will evaporate before you know it. Number 1 is the spiritual dimension. Marriage is spiritual because marriage is a divine institution and operates on a divine covenant between Christ, the husband, and the wife. And marriage is a reflection of the love of Christ to the church, the reflection of the submission of the church to Christ, which means that a husband and a wife are there to play out the template of the relationship of Christ and the church. The second reason is marriage is a divine institution, with Christ being the head of the husband being the head of the wife, and the wife who honors the man and Christ. And I usually say that marriage is also a spiritual institution because it is in marriage that a couple are able to get physical and to deep dive into the depth of the earth, and then a human life starts happening. I don't think that someone can just sit and just call forth a soul, call forth a spirit, and then manufacture a body physically and then start that. So it has a spiritual dimension. That's how I see it. The other reason is that Christ is the foundation of marriage. So if you have a Christless marriage, it means Christ is not the foundation of your marriage. When the storm hits, beware. It's the emotional domain of marriage. The Bible says it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a help meet for him. Man needs emotional support. Man needs emotional companionship, emotional intimacy. If you satisfy the spiritual domain of marriage and you neglect the emotional domain of marriage, your marriage will still not be fulfilled. That is why some very spiritual marriages have neglected the emotional aspect in honor of spirituality. When you do this, you don't have a balance. And that is the more reason why some Christians are backfiring that marriage is not spiritual, because some people have really turned it to a prayer battleground and have eliminated the emotional aspect. We as spouses have to be an emotional blessing to one another. If the Bible says in Deuteronomy that when someone gets married, now he should not go out for public duty, but he should take off FMLA to stay at home and bring happiness or pleasure or gladness or joy to the wife that he married. So we should be an emotional blessing to one another. The third dimension of marriage is the physical dimension. The physical dimension is the present. It is not good for man to be alone. So there should be someone, the physical present. That's why you cannot just go online and click to be married from Africa to someone in Australia and then it becomes valid. A marriage is considered void if it has not been consumed, and that needs 2 physical presence. And 2 physical people are also required to procreate and raise children, and that's why we need the husband and the wife in the home so they can raise the children who have a mom and that. So the physicality of marriage is that physical presence that is there to run that vision, that physical presence that is there to support each other, that physical presence that is there to provide the emotional health of marriage and the spiritual health of marriage. For the emotional dimension to thrive and for the spiritual dimension to thrive, we need that physical presence. Even to fulfill vision or to fulfill purpose, we need the physical presence. That's why after death, you can remarry, because the physical presence is no longer there. So those are the 3 dimensions of marriage. Thank you so much for watching. Do you have any other dimension you mind, or how do you think about this? Leave it in the comment section. And until then, see you in the next